How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
Gonna be strange to be on this sideline this go around?
No, I don't think so. I think all that's gone. I mean, yeah, I have familiarity with those guys, but I mean that all kind of goes away when the game starts.
Are you excited for your first home game in Jacksonville?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're excited for just to play in front of our fans and see what the energy in the stadium's like, and just kind of go out and get another chance to put our best foot forward.
What did you think about how the offense played last week? Got off to kind of a quick start, moved right down the field, and kind of stalled out a little bit there. What kind of happened in that lull?
Yeah, it just kind of felt like we missed opportunities. A little bit of missed opportunities of things that were there that we didn't execute at the highest level on, and then even some things that just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. An illegal formation, illegal shift, some things that don't need to happen that we're in complete control of, and we understand that, and working to rectify that situation.
Could you talk a little bit about how you're working to rectify it? Because Doug came up here yesterday and seemed rather perplexed at how many pre-snap penalties there were in that game.
Yeah, there were certainly some issues that didn't show themselves during the week of practice that we didn't anticipate, and for whatever reason they did happen, whether it was a miscommunication or somebody just forgot something. But certainly things we kind of do an autopsy of ourselves each Monday and look at every single thing we do. Are we making sure we're executing in the most like a game situation in all aspects of walkthrough and practice as well. So just kind of going back and making sure we're doing everything that we do on game day so we can kind of eliminate some of those situations that may have come up.
When you see how productive the running game was in the amount of carries that they actually got, looking back, any wish that you had done a little bit more, or is it just a matter of, hey, we should just have executed those other plays and then it wouldn't have mattered?
Yeah, I mean, it always kind of comes to that. You feel like the call you're making at that time or the suggestions we're having at that time are the best situation for that particular moment. It's kind of unique. We had a 2-minute drive into half. We had 2-minute drive into game. That's always going to inflate your pass numbers in situations like that. But certainly you execute a little bit better early on in some of the things, then you get more opportunities to run the ball, and the situation kind of played itself out to where we ended up having more passes than runs. But again, we think every single time we call a play that we're doing what's best in the right situation.
What did you think of Trevor Lawrence's performance? He admitted that he missed a few passes, but overall thoughts?
Yeah, overall, protected the football till the very end of the game. That's what we ask him to do. I think there's throws he wants back, just like everybody. There's plays everybody wants back. There's play designs I want back. There's play calls coach may want back. Certain things like that you come in here, you learn from it. Why did it happen? How do I get better moving forward? And that was the first game of a long season right here. So everybody's ready to get back to work. The second we got back here on Monday, everybody was ready to get back to work and work towards putting ourselves in the best position this week.
You got to see Jonathan Taylor up close. Just what kind of stands out about him to be so young and already, I think he was top 5 in the NFL, top 100 players. Yeah. Just what stands out about him?
That's not surprising when you're around him. The kid is super mature. He's professional in his approach and his work. When the defense was on the field practicing against the scout team offense, he's over there catching footballs. He's over there going through blitz pickup. He is very about his business in every single way, shape, or form, and then he's just super talented. So it's important to him. He's a great teammate. He's a great pro, and he's talented as all get out. So it's not surprising when you're around him and you watch the kid work and watch him prepare and all that for the success he's had early in his career.
Were you a little surprised in any way? Now, I know you're watching more the Colts defense as opposed to their offense, but they're down 17 points in that game, and Jonathan Taylor gets the ball 9 times in the fourth quarter. That's not something most head coaches would do when they're trailing by that many and with that time element.
Right. No, I'm honestly not surprised. Coach Reich and his mindset and the way he's kind of built that team and the culture in there, I'm not surprised that that's kind of what they leaned on and had success doing. They have the capability, watched it firsthand, of being explosive at any moment in the game with their run game even. They can do it in the past, but I think sometimes there's panic in this league of, all right, we're down so many scores, we got to start throwing the ball all over the place. Well, that's not true. It really comes down to how many possessions are left in the game. We have enough possessions, and again, it's being efficient. If you're running for a yard, 2 at a time, you're going to run out of possessions eventually that way, but they're able to gain yards in chunks at times, so they were able to stick with it, so that doesn't shock me.
When you look at this Colts defense, they have some talented players at every level. What sort of problems can that present to an offense?
Yeah, anytime they've got a lot of impact players like they do at every single level of the defense, you have to be aware in some way, shape, or form. Now, it's a different scheme than they had last year, but I think the personnel that they have fits the scheme they're installing and working through right now. But yeah, there's certainly playmakers at every single level, whether it's the defensive line. The linebackers have as good a ball skills as anybody in the league, and they're linebackers. And then you got Kenny Moore, Stephon Gilmore, Julian Blackman. You got playmakers in the back end as well that, they have a nose for the football. They do a great job. They're obviously second in the league in takeaways. And I think that's a scheme thing, but that's also a personnel thing. And those guys, that's kind of what they hang their hat on. That's what they pride themselves in. I've watched it firsthand again in practice of the way they attack the football. And it's something we're aware of, but something they're very good at.
After watching the film, what did you make of the offensive line's play? Obviously, in the run game, it seemed efficient. In the pass game, it seemed like they gave up a few pressures.
Yeah, we faced a very talented front. We know that. There was 3 premier pass rushers in those positions, and it's tough when it's on the interior. We certainly have young guys that, I think everybody across the line, everybody across our offense, there's plays they want back and plays they wish we all handled and executed a little bit better. And we got to do our job as well as an entire offense to keep them out of the situations where everybody in the stadium knows it's drop back pass and guys can tee off and they can run their pick stunts in their games. And that certainly makes it tough as an offensive line when, I'm blocking this guy and here comes somebody else trying to ear hole me. And it's just continuing to work through that. And, we expect to be better in week 2 than we were in week 1.
Do you think some of those issues might be chemistry sort of related because they haven't really played together a whole lot? Obviously the tackles have, but the interior hasn't.
Yeah, that's certainly anytime you play, you get more time on task with the people that you're going to operate with in the game. That's going to increase your level of execution. That's what we expect. Again, week 2, we expect it to be a lot better than it was in week 1.
Go ahead.
Christian Kirk kind of had a slow first half, and then in the second half really exploded. Ended up with a great stat line. Did you guys go in the locker room and say, okay, we really need to make sure that we get this guy involved, or was it just Washington started giving you the looks that enabled you to get him involved?
Yeah, I think it just kind of played itself out that way. Again, we had a 2-minute drive at the end of half, and you're kind of just executing calls and that are specific to that situation. But the cool thing was we go in the locker room, there's no panic out of anybody. We felt like we moved the football. We felt like we were right there. Kind of knew we missed opportunities ourselves. Nothing that Washington had done to us at that point surprised us. And then came back and just wanted to continue to stick with the game plan. And I thought Christian and Trevor, they took advantage of the matchups we had. We were able to get Christian matched up on linebackers and safeties quite a bit in those situations. And based on the way they played their coverages, that's what we were trying to get done. And so the ball just kind of found Christian. Christian ended up making plays with the opportunities that came his way, and we were able to have success when that happened.
How different is trying to attack the Colts defense with Leonard in there versus without him in there?
Yeah, you're adding a Pro Bowl level player to the defense that is already very talented. He has an impact on the game. Obviously, his stats in terms of takeaways since he's been in the league and productive plays is pretty outstanding. So anytime you add a guy like that, we're certainly conscious of that. We understand that. And again, I think he's a good fit for the scheme they've adjusted to.
I wanted to ask about Michael Pittman. Could you talk a little bit about what makes him special? I know he has good size, but It kind of seems like he's turned into a really reliable target for that offense.
Yeah, certainly, and that's kind of his mindset as well. Of he's that guy. He comes to play every single rep, whether it's in the run game. He blocks his tail off. He's trying to get after people throughout the game. Like that's as important to him as it is when his number's called in the pass game. And then that's the expectation they have for him. That's the expectation he has for himself. And so he does a good job. He can run every route in the book. He can make plays with the football. But it's kind of that level of every single play to him is the most important play of the game. And he has that mindset. And he goes after people in the run game, and he does it in the pass game. So it's not surprising that he's that guy, just the way he works as well and plays.
How many points do you feel like y'all left on the field last week?
Oh, way too many.
When you have a young team, do you almost expect to have some plays like that? Even though it's hard to swallow when they happen, but when you have a bunch of younger players.
Well, yeah, I understand that thought, but no, around here, we expect to execute everything that we're asked to do and the things that we've seen them do in practice. That's the thing. If we didn't see it happen in practice, then we'd understand why we missed this play or missed that check or that adjustment or blitz pickup, whatever it is. But we see it in practice. We expect it in game day, and our players expect it in game day. So, that's a disappointing thing when that happens. But again, we learn from it, we move forward, we put it to bed, and we're on to the next week, and we're going to improve our play at any point in the season, we hope.
Which ones do you just wanted to clean up, or maybe the most important one to clean up, between penalties, red zone execution, and third down?
I don't know if I have a hierarchy of it because I think it all plays together. You know, if you eliminate the pre-snap penalty things, then you're a little more efficient. Maybe you have better situations on the third downs and you're not as many third and longs as we got ourselves in. Then you're able to execute at a higher level, get yourself to the red zone more, be more efficient. So I think it all kind of goes hands in hand. I think every single play of the game could be considered situational football. You know, it's P and 10, it's a drive starter versus, all right, now what is it? Are you 2nd and 3? Are you 2nd and 10? How do we handle? Are we in a, get back on track type mode? Are we playing football and the whole playbook's open? So I think all of it goes hand in hand in every single situation.
I know you haven't coached him or anything like that, but just from studying the game, what makes Matt Ryan such a good quarterback? And, can you take some of the things that he's done or any other great quarterbacks have done and apply it to Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, you certainly want to study guys that have played at the highest level in this league for a long time, and he certainly fits that category. Was the number 1 overall pick for a reason, was talented, super mature. From watching from afar, again, I do not know him at all, but just watching the poise he's handled, he's been the face of an organization for a long, long time and got it done. He had an MVP season not too long ago, so he's still definitely impressive, fun to watch, just the way he plays, the accuracy, just kind of the understanding the quarterback position. It's something that without knowing the guy, you feel like you can see in his game watching tape of him. Good. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you.
Good.
Had that first game, how did you feel?
It was actually fun. Yeah, it was fun. It was exciting for me. Got out there and made some calls, and outcome wasn't what we expected and what we wanted, but it was a good time. Now we're back to work.
Did you feel like the defense had to settle in a little bit? They really kind of got in the groove late in the game, started pitching a pretty good game, but early on kind of took a second?
I think it was a lot of anxiety. Guys were really excited, ready to play, and I think we went out there and had some mistakes, but we settled down and, they'll just learn from it, continue to grow.
The guys were talking a lot about the turnovers they got during practice and scout team last week. I think they said something like 9 interceptions over 2 days. It carried over to the game field. You came out with 3 turnovers. Does that kind of give you a positive momentum to feeling about this defense?
I think we always talk about they come in bunches, and we've been stressing to the guys to focus on them. And, they went out there and we had 2 great plays that were made, then the fumble. So, we were focused on it, and hopefully that'll continue.
What was your view of the Trayvon Walker interception?
Special play, athletic. It was something that you see a lot of guys jumping up and grabbing the ball, but the way he snatched it out of the air, that was might want to let him run a couple of routes.
Mike, somebody with really sharp eye that was at the Atlanta practices got like on a cell phone video of a play up there, almost similar to the interception Trayvon had in there, and he kind of dropped the ball. Do you recall that play?
No, I don't.
And it was just the same kind of type of pattern and the same thing and everything. So, does that indicate that this is a guy who learns very quickly and that maybe told himself, the next time I see that play, I'm going to make it?
I think he's this guy with the right work ethic. I do remember the play now. Yeah, he was in coverage, and there was a crossing route, and he didn't catch it. So, he came back and worked on it and saw the film, understand what he can do a little bit better, and went out there and did it.
And the reaction that he made when he dropped the one in the practice was it was almost like he had dropped a chance to win a game, regular season game or something. He was really upset, jumped up and down. So is that how much he wants to compete and get better?
That's the thing about him. He is a competitor, and he wants to help the team win. And the sack, the interception, those are plays that, help us win. And he wants to make those, and he'll continue to do that.
You got one of the best running backs in the league coming in here. Josh Allen said he is the best one in the league. You got some of your guys that are looking forward to this. Like Foye said when he first signed here that he was looking forward to the chance to play against Jonathan Taylor. Should be a big test for your rushing defense.
Oh, definitely. It's a big test. that's a good group coming in here. You know, you don't label running backs as who's the best, but I go out there and each week it's a different opponent, and we got one coming in here that can run the ball. He really can, and, you know, it's a big challenge for us. We got to, you know, put our hard hats on and be ready to go.
What makes Taylor so good? I mean, what do you see on film?
There's so many things he does well. He's patient. Then he has the explosion to get through the gap, and he runs with power. And they feed it to him. They feed it to him. So that helps.
Having coached against Matt Ryan for several years, what makes him such a great quarterback, and where do you see him now in his career in Indy? I know it's only been one game, but
Like playing against him the last few years, you see that you really don't fool him on anything, and he's a veteran that's seen a bunch, and the arm talent is still there. He can throw the ball on any part of the field. So he's a guy that been around and played at a high level. He continues to play at a high level.
When you've got a guy who runs as hard as Taylor, do you have to coach, remind guys that you can't assume one guy is going to bring him down?
Oh, exactly. That was our message. In the first game, we didn't tackle well, and with this guy coming in, you know, we all are accountable for that. We all have to be there ready to get him down. So, yeah, that's been stressed that we got to gang tackle him and try to get multiple guys to the ball.
Do you expect a big jump from game 1 to game 2 in terms of tackling because so many guys did miss a lot of the preseason and some guys missed some camp and, you know, you just don't play a lot?
Right. You can look at it that way, but we really look at it as we got 11 guys out there. All 11 are responsible for getting him on the ground or getting anybody on the ground. So it's not just one guy missing it. If one misses it, it should be someone else there ready to make it. So we're trying to get multiple guys to the ball, and that'll help out with the tackling.
What resonated the most with you on the on the Commanders' 2 scoring drives, particularly on the third downs? You had two 3rd and 8s, 2 and a 3rd and 10. Logan Thomas got free for a big play prior to McLaurin's play, and then of course the touchdown pass where Tyson was right on the guy, just didn't seem to turn around just quick enough to get it.
Really, the thing that stood out the most to me were the opportunities we had that we didn't come away with. We've been really doing well on 3rd down in camp and in preseason, so we wanted to have that carry over, and it didn't. So that's something we're just gonna, go back to work and try to get that fixed.
I talked to Shaq yesterday, and he said that communication would be a big point of emphasis going into this next week. He dropped the quote, "If you see something, say something," to keep all 11 guys in communication. Is that going to be something that you guys are really working on, and was that lacking last week against the Commanders?
I don't think it was lacking. I think when you're on the road, it should be easier. At home, I expect us to be hearing Duval a bunch, the crowd to really be enthusiastic, and it should be hard for a defense to communicate at home. So that's the thing. We just got to make sure we got our hand signals down and just get used to playing with each other back there. Know when I'm in this certain technique, where my help is, and be able to lean to that.
Do you think that, because kind of alluding to what Mark said, some of the guys missed time in the preseason and there were starters that didn't get a chance to be on the field during preseason, do you think that's a part of the communication that might have dropped off a bit, or not really?
No, I don't think so, because the starters that did miss time, they were in the walkthroughs or in the meetings, so we're communicating all the time. You watch film, you communicate together. So that's just something that, we didn't get the job done last week, and we're working to get it done this week.
What did you think about how Devin Lloyd played in his first game?
He started off, I was excited to see him out there, and he started off, had some great moments. Then he had a couple of that he can learn from. I think, again, he was excited, and he was really trying to make every play, and he'll settle down, and the plays will come to him, and he'll continue to do it.
When you have so many guys on the defense that are going into those expanded roles for the first time, whether it's a Trayvon Walker or Devin Lloyd who's starting their first games, or an Andre Sisco who's getting his crack in the starting lineup, do you almost have to coach against that excitement and tell them, look, settle in, you're here for a reason, kind of deal?
Well, I think you just have to know the person. Everybody, first game of the season, everybody's going to be amped up, and everybody was ready to go. You just have to take a deep breath, calm down, and do what you've done in practice. Right? The plays don't change. Your technique won't change. Just go out there and relax and play the game you've always played.
All good.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thank you.
All All right.
Did you give Riley a little pep talk at halftime the other day after this?
I did not. No, I did not. He's a guy that you just trust. You know, we talked through it throughout the week, and we talked through what his plan was, because at some point he's going to miss a kick. He's a guy that he just wanted to be on his own. He's understanding of when he does miss a kick is fantastic. So he knows right away, make the adjustment. So no, I'd love to say I was a big part of that. He makes 3 in a row down the stretch at the end of the game, but I had 0 to do with it.
And I wanted to ask you, first of all, Logan had another good game. Second of all, do you want Jamal to be a little bit more aggressive on the punt returns?
No. Well, first off, Logan did have a great game. Great directional, great hang times. We were able to cover down the field. Covering the field for our guys is going to be super important, but it has a big start with what Logan's doing. As far as Jamal, I think he made great decisions back there. You know, that short punt to our left, him to get on that thing, not knowing if it went off one of our guys or not, just a good veteran decision. Get on that thing, let's cover it up, make sure it's our ball. That's our number one goal every week, to make sure we give the ball back to the offense. So that was a big deal. Those plays will come. I never want to tell, especially a good returner like we have. He sees a guy kind of running free. Do I think he could have made that guy miss? Absolutely. But I don't ever question what he does. He's done it at a high level. Those plays will come. We got to be better outside and make sure we cover that guy up and give him more time would be my coaching point. We got to give him more time so he feels comfortable back there so we can hit the return. But those plays will come.
So is it more important on special teams to not make a bad play than it is to make a big play?
No, I mean, that's not necessarily our philosophy. We obviously we would love we want to play clean ball. We want to play very clean ball, so that's no penalties, good situational football. But we also want to be involved and make big plays. That's a big deal. How can we do those? But you have to wait for them to come. Those plays will come. We'll get those opportunities that we're talking about as getting Ags get loose. I mean, that's part of it. Maybe it's a block and a punt. Those things are come, but you have to make good, clean, sound football to start.
How tough is it when you have a returner like Agnew and you know people are going to avoid him, kick away from him kind of deal, and you kind of want him to be aggressive, but you don't want him to be too aggressive, and, because everybody kind of always has to be ready, even though everybody on the team knows that they're going to kick away from him kind of deal?
Yeah, I got pretty used to this. I had Andre Roberts for a few years in Buffalo, and it's the same concept. Every team is trying to avoid him. They're going to try to kick touchbacks any way they can. They were fortunate to have a guy that could do that. But the reality is, as the legs get tired, they won't be able to kick those deep. So, we may only get one opportunity, and that's what we talked about to our guys about is you may only get one op because they're trying to kick touchbacks. We got to be ready for any point. So those plays will come, and I think as the year goes on, gets colder, the legs get more tired, the ball's shorter. Now also they can't kick those touchbacks. Those plays will come.
Is this a challenge this week, not knowing who's going to be the guy kicking off?
We have a good plan for both those guys. They have on practice squad. Chase McLaughlin was a guy that I had with the Buffalo Bills for an offseason, so I'm very familiar. And we scouted Luke, of course, in college. So we have a good plan for both those guys. But that's the nature of all positions, though. With this practice squad elevation thing, we have to prepare for any guy to come up off that practice squad on Saturday afternoon. So anybody we potentially think could come up, we got to be ready for them.
When you looking around the league this past weekend, are you okay? That's expected, or was it shocking the number of kicks missed and the number of clutch kicks missed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I would say that's normal. There's the long kicks. I mean, there's kicks. There's extra points aren't a gimme anymore. Those things come up all the time. I think that's football. There's a missed kick here. There's a kick out of bounds. There's all those little details, and that's part of playing clean ball. We'd love to have great kicks. We'd love to have kicking back, all those little details, no penalties. There's a million penalties, So those are type of things we're trying to get in our game of just being really clean football and then make a play when it comes to us. But don't press it. If you try to push that, that's when bad stuff happens. Ags says, I could make this guy miss even though he's in my face and he gets hit and the ball goes flying. That's not what we want. That's not it. Those plays will come. We'll get that opportunity. You're hoping in this game. It didn't. Maybe it's this game. Maybe it's 2 weeks. Those plays will come.
How quickly can you get comfortable with Riley and know, let's say a clutch kick comes up, the line you got to get to, the exact spot you want to put? How quickly do you learn his tendencies and where he wants to be, or do you just talk to him and he kind of tells you that?
Oh, I see him warm up. I see him practice every day. So I have a good feel where his range is, where he feels comfortable. And so we talk through that not only on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but even pregame. Where does he feel comfortable? Of course, he, as a player, he wants to extend that line as much as he can, which you want. I have to kind of, okay, how about this? And we negotiate a little bit. And that's what you want, though. You want those guys to challenge themselves and believe in themselves more of, hey, I'll take that kick. I want that kick. And those are setting the lines, and that's something that between him, myself, my assistant Luke, and Coach Peterson, we come up with the best plan for our team, because the reality is we got to put the best position out there, as far as making those kicks.
In your experiences, where will that maximum line fall? Will kickers tend to be more comfortable going a little bit longer at home, or is it going to depend whether it's a dome or natural?
Yeah, I think it's the weather. Is the wind at his back? Is it in the dome? Those are all factors. How's he hitting them in warm-ups? That factors in. What's the direction like? What is, all those are certain factors that changes every game. And you may have this side, we're going the 35-yard line, well, we're at the 30 on this yard, this side. So depending on the wind, depending on, is it left to right? All those things play into it. Is it right before the end of the game? Because that's a little more desperation. So all those play factors. There's not one. A dome helps it because that's a natural clean ball, but it's still with the wind at your back that changes it outdoors as well.
I'm just curious how did you watch the game Monday night? The end of it.
I did.
Were you a little? Did you go like, ooh, that they were going to try a 64-yarder with Russell Wilson, the other option at 4th and 5?
Yeah, Russell was a former teammate of mine. Love Russell, love what he does. But McManus is as talented as kickers there is in this league, especially leg strength. So it didn't surprise me they sent him out there. I'm well aware that he can make those kicks and even further. So that did not surprise me. They sent him out there. He's a talented kicker. That's one of the top kickers in the league, year in and year out. So that didn't shock me at all.
As you're deciding that line for distance, do you ever look at like the history of certain places, like what the longest kicks are, or the history of kicks being made from distances as you kind of prepare?
Yeah, and I think depending on where you're at, in Buffalo, that was a big issue of certain end zones and especially in those weather games, what does that look like? So yes, we study all that stuff throughout the week. And is it a rain game? Is it a windy game? What does that do? What does that change? So those are all things we put into account because we're putting ourselves in the best position to make that kick. Because the reality, not only is it a miss, it's the spot going the other way. Now they get the short field. So if we have to punt those, using Logan to punt those things and pin them inside the 10, which is a valuable weapon for us, we'll do that.
Heath, I know this decision has to be made quickly in situations like the other night, but when you got a kicker who tells you that day he's comfortable at X, and you're comfortable with him, now you still got to sell it to Doug in a short amount of time, and knowing his tendency to want to go for it on 4th down a lot, what do you think Doug would have done in that situation?
I got no idea, but I think the biggest thing is having that great communication. We talk about it in pregame. We go through it. Where did you make kicks? Where did you feel comfortable? Then, of course, I bring that information to Coach Peterson, and then we work through it and to see if he agrees and does he disagree. And then it comes down to, does he like that? Does he like his 4th down play? Does all those things play into account? Do we like our situation? How is defensive playing? That all those things play into account. Are we going to punt this? Are we going to go for a long field? Or are we going to go for it? Those are three-way situations come up every weekend. Those are head coach's decision. I give him the best information I have. From my knowledge, but that's a head coach's decision.
I'm sorry. Can Riley if Riley develops into a steady, consistent kicker, where anything out to 55 or so, does that help an offensive coordinator or coach's play calling in the sense that if he's confident he's got 3 points in his pocket, he may be more aggressive on a 3rd down play around the middle of the field?
Yeah, I think potentially it would. If you got a guy that we know, hey, we're in range, we've already hit range, okay, can we better that position? Or can we take a shot, a shot at the end zone? I think that's something that, you take into account for sure. Obviously, with the offensive coordinator, press obviously knows what that line is in pregame as well. So they know where they're working for. going into the game. And sometimes those lines change. They change throughout the game, but they're well aware of where that line is through the headset communication. They know where we're headed, and if it's not in that range, you got to get there. And then also, going forward, if that's what they still want to do, even though it's in the range.
I'm curious because of the situation that happened in Cincy. Who was your backup long snapper?
Oh, we got two guys that can do it. Chat's done it in NFL games, and then Dan Arnold. Those are two guys that do it at a high level, as far as emergency guys. So I'm fortunate to have two guys that can do it.
Zay Jones working on it at practice yesterday.
Everyone wants to be a snapper. Yeah, they're all ripping them back there. Yeah.
How tough is that situation? I mean, the long snapper goes out now. All of a sudden, you don't know if you're going to make the field goal.
Well, we talked about how many kicks are missed in the NFL. Those snaps are so valuable, and the timing of them. It's 1.2, 1.3 at the most, and then here you go. You got a brand new snapper, a new holder. It's all different. Anytime you change one of those dynamics, it changes a whole lot.
Who's your backup holder as long as we're on the subject?
CJ would do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and CJ's worked. Some we work in the training camp, so we have worked that process, and we have those guys in place, and they're aware. Hey, if something ever happened, knock on wood, it wouldn't. But those guys are ready to go.
Speaking of backups a little bit, Florida Heat for Sunday. I know you guys practice in it, but a full game is a little bit different, and you have a lot of different guys that participate in different units. How much do you have to keep an eye on? Oh, well, maybe this guy needs a breather here. Let me put somebody else in on kick cover or something like that.
Yeah, I think we keep an eye on it, but I think being able to practice in every day and all training camp, I think that's super valuable. I've been part of other teams that came from, say, Seattle or somewhere from the north, and you come down to the south to start the season in September. It is an issue, and so that's something that it's a factor at times. But the fact that we're here every day, I think it's a big advantage for us. I trust our guys to be in shape, and that's part of their training camp is getting in shape, knowing they're going to play in September, here in Florida. So I think they're ready to go. I think that's part of the deal. They're ready to go. Thanks, Coach. Good. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Coach. Thank you. Thanks.